Now, of course, our guest today, we're very, very honoured to have her here with us, South Africa's media personality, loved celebrity in the country, where she's had a very successful career in media, public relations and TV presenting. But it was at the height of her success that South Africa's darling Gerry Elsdon fell ill and was diagnosed with TB.
When her TB status became public, Gerry could not ignore the plight of the thousands of people in our country affected by the disease, and playing a key role in various TB education campaigns and partnerships. She joined us this morning in our studio to talk about governments and also the USAID's mass TB screening campaign, bringing the message worldwide. Sis Gerry, welcome to the show.
Lovely to be here as always.
Fantastic.
You guys know how to make one feel good in the morning, right?
Yeah, we try.
That extra cup of coffee that we do in the mornings always has that effect, right?
I suspect it's more than just a cup.
But let us a bit into your life, into what was happening at the time when you discovered your TB diagnosis, the process, and you know, how you came about deciding that you wanted to make your status public.
Okay, so I was trying to get pregnant at the time, and it didn't matter what fertility treatments I'd gone to or what physicians I was going to. None of the treatments were working. I was looking for treatment between Cape Town, Johannesburg, the UK, and nothing was working. And one of my physicians made the decision to do a very particular kind of test. They did a biopsy of my womb, and they found what was called tuberculosis granulomas of the endometrium, which is TB of the womb. And when he told us what it was quite shocking, because I'd not heard the word or the acronym TB in so long. I didn't even know it existed anymore. So I had to do some research. There were some people who I was able to ask, some physicians, and actually one of the physicians, a friend out of the Eastern Cape, had said to me that TB in the womb is not uncommon in South Africa, that but it goes undiagnosed often because TB outside of the lungs is often not caught. I said, what should I do? He said, you better get yourself some treatment. For me, unfortunately, the womb had already been impacted to the extent that I would never have a child. Over the years, we had tried to reconstruct the womb as like plastic surgery, but inside of the body and all kinds of things. But what it did do for me, it opened a whole new world of knowledge. It opened for me an avenue through which I could then communicate. Infertility on its own is quite emotional. But understanding that it was due to a cause that is quite unique in the world, actually, made me want to say, okay, now that I have all the information, what am I going to do with it? So I contacted the Department of Health, then under Minister Chabalala Msimang, and I said, what are we going to do?
But my question is, your condition was or is so uncommon. How do you put a voice to it? How do you get authorities and people involved if it's something that people don't even understand?
By speaking out on it. And this is why being in a position to advocate for people with TB, just remember, it might have only impacted my womb, but it's quite possible that it could have become active tuberculosis, meaning it could have impacted the rest of my body, possibly becoming what we call pulmonary TB, which is TB in the lungs. It didn't matter for me where my TB was. The fact was that if someone like myself, I consider myself quite informed, if I didn't understand or have enough knowledge that TB was such a scourge in my own country, possibly others didn't. And so it became an imperative for me to give a voice to something like TB. The other thing that impacted me at the time was when I was attempting to find treatment, I had to go into Randburg, behind a library. There was no sign that said TB treatment here, and that just irritated me. I was a busy woman. I was in the middle of Big Brother, for example. I was like, why is this clinic hidden? Why should what I'm suffering from be hidden? I didn't do anything. And when I got into the clinic, there were like 100 people. It was 7:30 in the morning. People sitting with a number. I'm walking in with my designer sunglasses, thinking, okay, I'm going to walk in, get some pills and walk out. And it wasn't like that. And I thought people need to know this. People need to understand this, and people need to know what it is that they need to do. And my treatment was meant to be for 6 months, but they chose to put me on a 9-month regimen. Can you imagine being on antibiotics for 9 months? Please understand that this is what the TB sufferer goes through when they're diagnosed. And our sensitivity to what they're going through is so important, and that's why we're campaigning yet again.
And so tell us a bit more about the campaign that you've now been part of with the department, the mass screening.
Yes.
And also the importance of this, of course, in our communities, people knowing their status.
So here's what we know. We know that South Africa is one of the 5th highest burdened countries in the world with regards to TB. The 1st highest burden, if we go just by population statistics and population number. And so 1st highest burdened country in the world, I think we should all just sit up and listen to that again and decide that if that is the truth, it means that chances are every 10, 20 people we know is possibly a carrier or has TB. We need to do something. And so the massive TB screening campaign is a way for us to get each and every one of you involved in talking about TB. I've always maintained that TB needs to become as spoken about as flu or the cold. You should be saying, oh, I'm coughing, and someone should be responding with, are you taking antibiotics? Have you been tested for TB?
Wow.
It needs to become that comfortable a conversation for us, okay? We're the 1st highest considering our population size. So that's what I'm urging people to do. That's what other celebrities are doing. So because media has changed so much, social mobilization has come into the fore, it's so important for us to have you, and you, going out there and putting things on Twitter, Instagramming. And so what we've done is we've brought social influencers together, sports people, media celebrities, musicians, and so on. And we said, you can help here. You might not have a personal story, but TB moves people.
Yeah.
And so how can you help and support us?
Well, Gerry Elsdon is in our studio this morning. It's great hearing you speak up about this, as glamorous as ever. SA's Darling is in our studio. We're going to speak more about this later on. TB screening, and we're bringing full good news to you as well. Great. What's happening next?